Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a question about, I think the most important question about your exception handling, which you talked about, 68% shadow economy. I think that is a very kind of awe-inspiring statement which you have made, that 68% is a huge number, unbelievable number. And I think I just wanted to kind of want you to give some examples of this. And actually my second question, which is more relevant, how would organizations or large enterprises trust or tolerate the experts who are connected or who are the part of this collaborative chain to be advised on this exception handling aspect, because that could change the entire composition of an enterprise if 68% of the economy, what you call shadow economy, is being handled by so-called experts which are loosely connected, federated, and how will it tolerate? So these are the kind of two aspects of the same question essentially, if you can throw some more light.
I'm sorry, how will it tolerate?
Yeah, how will that tolerate external experts? Because exceptions are handled typically within an enterprise.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the enterprise context. So how will an enterprise tolerate experts which are now going to handle the exceptions or which are the part of the 68% economy which you talked about?
Well, I guess two observations. One is that the exception handling, from my experience, again, most executives are reluctant to acknowledge how much time and effort is spent on exception handling. So I think the first challenge is to get executives to actually focus on a detailed breakout of what people in their function or organization are doing with their time. And again, back of the envelope kinds of calculations have consistently shown, at least in my experience, anywhere from 60 to 70, 80% of the time of the people is focused on exception handling. And it's not that surprising because, in fact, it's become a truism that we're in an environment of accelerating change. And if we're in an environment of accelerating change, hardwired process management, which is typical of most enterprise applications, is clearly going to generate more and more exceptions. It's not something to be ashamed of or to avoid. It's a fact of life. And I think that the challenge, first of all, is to get executives to acknowledge that fact of life and make it explicit for them to document the economic activity that's involved here. And in terms of experts, I mean, right now these exceptions are being handled by experts. I mean, because of the inefficiency of this, they're not always the right experts because you're scrambling. You've got 5 hours to get an answer to a customer or to a business partner. You may not get the right people in the room, but you find the best people you can in the time available, and you achieve a resolution of that exception. I think what these technologies offer is the potential to actually find the right experts within the enterprise for each exception as it emerges. You have a higher probability of getting the right people together with the right tools and data to achieve a more effective resolution of that exception than you do in the current world where it's all offline and very much an ad hoc process.
Gentlemen, we can take only last two questions as we are overshooting the time limit that we have for us. The last two questions, please.
John, David Tickall here. How are you doing?
Hi.
I thought that the media example kind of opened up a question for me as I've been trying to figure out how this will actually come to pass. And what's interesting about that example is, of course, if you have a kind of a highly first of all, taking a newspaper as an example, essentially newspapers are in the exception reporting business. That's really what they do. So, of course, this is a perfect technology for that. But the other interesting fact about that is, in the media business, you can really disaggregate that activity from the targeted advertising. In other words, the analytics that sit behind the business model. But if you look at some of the other examples that you've given, which I think are really powerful, you can't really do that. For example, in the exception handling, you want to be able to have your analytics tied to these lightweight processes and lightweight technologies that are going on. The problem is that the collaborative exception identifying and handling technologies may be lightweight, but the analytic side, it can't be lightweight. seems to me. You need a pretty powerful engine there. So I'm kind of thinking, well, who's going to do this? And I can only think of one company which seems to be about to rule the world. So any thoughts on how this could actually come to market and come to happen in real life?
Well, I don't want to suggest that all the tools necessary to handle exceptions are lightweight. I think that the opportunity in part is to take some of these lightweight technologies and to use industry standards like XML to provide connections into more heavyweight enterprise tools, analytic tools, if you will, and combine them together. I think, again, this whole notion of service-oriented architectures and Web 2.0 being a clash is very dysfunctional to actually delivering value to the enterprise. And the real opportunity is how do you combine these two in meaningful ways? And ultimately, I think that's going to be the economic business case for the adoption of both sets of technologies. And unfortunately, we've got evangelists on both sides who are dismissing the other set as not relevant or not interesting.
Thanks. The absolutely last question. I'm sorry, we just...
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rene from Level 360 in Bangalore. My question relates to the critical mass that these platforms have somehow inherent. That's like when you're an entrepreneur building a platform like MySpace, you start with a naked platform and need to get critical mass on that. The same refers apparently to somebody who wants to have that implemented in a company, that you have to have a certain level of relevance to bring people on, but to get that level of relevance on that collaborative platform, you need to have some people already doing something on that. Maybe you can just like elaborate a bit on this problem, how to overcome that, especially as we are obviously working in a scenario where it's not an order, command and control, but it's something that really must be lived inherently from the outside in.
It's a great question. I think the notion of critical mass and network effects is a key issue in terms of the adoption of the technology. I think what's helping the adoption of the technology, again, is that the technologies are actually getting deployed in the enterprise, as I mentioned, initially in these project environments, longer-term projects, 6 to 12-month kinds of projects. And so you're starting to get a large number of users familiar with the technology, using the applications in that context. And I think it provides a natural extension then to say, how can we take these into various kinds of exception handling contexts? And to be clear, I'm not advocating that you uniformly try to deploy this technology at the outset against all exceptions that are emerging in the enterprise. It requires some analysis to say, where are the most significant exceptions emerging that are where this technology could be most helpful in the near term, and to build out the critical mass in a much more phased way that starts to deliver business value quickly and build that critical mass over time incrementally.
Thanks, John. One thought process that comes to my mind in terms of the differences Web 1.0, 2.0 that John was presenting, from an information centricity to a people centricity, kind of the fundamental difference that came up, or aggregation of information, aggregation of people and functionality, lends to the fact, and I tend to believe that it's going to be significant more on people challenge in terms of the culture and the way we transact our business than so much a technology challenge, transforming ourselves into the Web 2.0 or the next generation web technologies. And as all of us know, people habits and practices don't change so easily in terms of what we expect out of the systems that we've been used to for all these years. So my belief is this is not a continuous or a contiguous incremental change, but this is a discontiguous, discrete change process, which is obviously going to have its own challenges from absorption point of view, but the rewards are going to be far-reaching too. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.